What's up, you guys? It's Jonathan Carter, the movie critic that watches bad movies so you don't have to, and today we are talking about the top 10 best movies of 2025. If you're new here, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on Instagram, TikTok for shorter versions of reviews, and then Spotify for podcast versions of reviews. Also, if you are up for the challenge, put your 10 best movies of 2025 in the comments, or top 5, top 3, whatever you're up for. Also, disclaimer, these will not be reviews for these movies, just like quick little thoughts on them as we move along. I do have reviews for majority of the films on my page. So with that said, without further ado, let's jump into this video with number 10. In all honesty, I didn't have high hopes for this movie. I have been feeling the superhero fatigue a little bit. I'm also not the biggest fan of the writer-director here. The movie is Superman. And to my surprise, I did actually really enjoy Superman. The best definition I can give it is it's fun, but it's flawed. And I think that really sums up this movie. It was great to see the Man of Steel on screen again. I think David Corenswet did a really great job as Superman. And yeah, I do think it's time to move on from those Man of Steel days. And it was honestly just great to see a Superman film where he was hopeful again, and the movie was vibrant and colorful and not so dreadful like Man of Steel. Number 9, a long-running series that this entry is probably the most accessible and fun one of these films has ever been, and that is Predator: Badlands. I have seen majority of the Predator films. I'm a bigger fan of the Alien franchise, in all honesty. I don't like the Alien versus Predator movies, either one of them. So I went into Predator: Badlands expecting to enjoy it enough. I was not expecting for this to make the top 10 best of the year. It is a PG-13 rating, but that honestly opens the doors for a lot more people to go and see this movie. What it does for the franchise is kind of tough because it does take away that R-rated that the Predator and Alien films are known for, but in return, you get a very enjoyable, very action-heavy Predator film. 8. This is actually a movie when I look back on over the summer, remembering a sold-out theater that was absolutely glued into this film, and that movie is F1 the Movie. I didn't expect to enjoy this one as much as I did. I can honestly say that this is the quintessential adrenaline-pumping summer blockbuster that all summer seasons need. Brad Pitt turns in an incredible performance, and it is just a very enjoyable film that does have great racing sequences, but I also feel like you don't need to be a NASCAR or racing fan to enjoy this film because it is so well-rounded, and it's always just great to see Brad Pitt be charming on screen. I do, however, feel like the movie just kind of fizzles out at the end. 7. This is a long-running horror franchise that I feel like its glory days were kind of in the rearview mirror. The Conjuring: Last Rites. So I was genuinely so happy when I enjoyed this movie as much as I did. I feel like this is the best the Conjuring series has been since the original 2010 film. Yes, that does include all of the endless spin-off films. And honestly, I remember the reception to this one being really mixed. Like, you either kind of really hated it or just enjoyed it enough, but I'm in the camp that thought that this was a really, really great film. And it wrapped up the Warren story very nicely. It also had great genuine scares. It's not as good as the original. I don't think anything will ever top the original, but The Conjuring: Last Rites was very enjoyable for what it was, a horror movie set in the Conjuring universe that wraps up the Warren story with a nice little bow. 6, we have the movie that has gotten me the most hate on the internet on this channel, Sinners. Contrary to popular belief, I do not hate this movie. I thought Sinners was very fun, enjoyable, inventive. It just wasn't as amazing to me as everybody else was saying when they're saying, this is the best movie of the year, it's gonna win an Oscar. It might, I hope that it does, but I just didn't think that it was nearly as perfect as everybody else. Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, incredible performances in here, and I can't go any further without talking about that incredible music scene of all the different generations of music. That's like one of the best moments in film this year. 5, this is a series that I've never really been on bored with all that much, but Avatar Fire and Ash really floored me as the best entry in the Avatar series. Full stop. I was so emotionally engaged in the story of this film, where it took Jake Lockley, his family, and then also I thought the villain or multiple villains in this movie, their arcs were just so incredibly entertaining. Combined with how immersive and massive this movie is, I was like, this is easily the best Avatar movie yet. Or Marvel has had a pretty rough last couple of years going into like the multiverse saga, so I was pleasantly surprised when Fantastic Four was as good as it was. This one did confuse me a little bit because it is a very good movie that didn't really make much noise. I don't think that many people went to go and see it, but I was just so happy to see the first family, Marvel's first family, on screen with an amazing cast, amazing visuals, and sure, the story isn't like as explosive as people wanted it to be leading into Avengers Doomsday, but I was still just so happy to see these characters on screen in the type of movie that they deserve. Shout out to the entire Fantastic Four cast, and especially the main four. Incredible. 3. This is the main actor's best performance probably of his career, Marty Supreme. This is Timothée Chalamet absolutely locked into this character in the script. I think he got a producer credit on this as well. And the first hour of this movie, I was like, this is a 10 out of 10. This is going to be the best movie of 2025 and maybe one of the best movies in the last 5 years. As the story went on, I think it did unfortunately devolve into just like chaos for the sake of chaos, but I still thought it was just an incredibly well done film that, yes, could have been done better, but Timothée Chalamet was just absolutely magnetic in this film, and I was just eating up the entire performance. 2, I'm a huge fan of this series, and I've been waiting for a sequel like this to the original for as long as I can remember. 28 years later. I am a huge 28 Days fan, or now 28 Years Later series fan. That's no secret. 28 Days Later is like my top 2 movie of all time. And after 28 Weeks Later, a sequel that I really don't like, this series went kind of quiet, dark. This 28 Months Later and Years Later and all that kind of got stuck in development hell, but we got the writer and directing team from 28 Days Later back for this movie, and it just delivered for me on every single front. Horror, crazy, insane, infected, I shouldn't say zombies, sorry, but also an emotionally like touching core at the center of this movie with Spike and his mom and the journey that they go on. I absolutely loved it, fully delivered for me, and the good news, we're getting the sequel to this movie in just 3 weeks. But number 1, the top movie of 2025, Thunderbolts. Yes, I know that sounds crazy. I thought 28 Years Later was going to be my number 1 of the year, but Thunderbolts just really delivered for me in this return to form for Marvel. Unfortunately, just like Fantastic Four, nobody really went to see this movie, but I just thought Marvel finally let its creative team make the story that it wanted, and it just was so enjoyable and also powerful in the way that it worked with emotions, depression, anxiety, not feeling like you're living up to your worth, and it was all tied into this action, larger-than-life Marvel movie that was also simultaneously setting up Fantastic Four and Avengers Doomsday. So I genuinely loved this movie, and that is why it is my top movie of 2025. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching my video. Let me know again your top 10 or top 5, top 3 2025 movies in the comments. Please be sure to like and subscribe, you guys. Like I said, I have all of these movies, majority of them maybe besides Marty Supreme, have reviews over on my channel, so go check them out if you want a deeper dive into any of these films. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I will see you guys on the next one.